right now. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do something else, okay? People get tired of doing the formulas sometimes. So we're going to shift gears here, and we're going to venture into this topic of major outputs. This is a game I want students to play as well. So if you're getting ready for the exam, I'd like you to play the major outputs game. How about that? The major outputs game, this is where you're going to do a basic data flow. It's a basic data flow because it's only showing you one output or two outputs or, maybe three or four. Oh dear, or seven. My, oh my. What are we going to do? We're going to use our markers as usual. This is a whiteboard that you guys can buy from any of those stores down the street. You're definitely going to find these for under $5 at your favorite, I'll say it, Staples, because they're buddies of mine. I don't own shares there, but they're good people. At least my Staples are. So go down to the Staples store, pick yourself one of these, and let's get down to business. So what we're going to do is we're going to do these 49 processes and see how many of the unique outputs we can draw. But like in the Prometric Test Center, it's all timed. So I'm not allowed to start until I hit start on the clock. All right, let's hit start on that clock. But before I do that, let me tell you folks, in the Prometric Test Center, you could actually get a whiteboard like this. You see, you don't always get paper. Sometimes what you do get is a good old whiteboard that looks like this. So practicing on this is not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it is a good thing because you just never know what you're going to get in your Prometric Test Center. You might get paper, or you could get a whiteboard with a marker. So this may be an eye-opener for those of you who are going to get a whiteboard and marker. Now, when I talk about doing brain dumps and stuff like this, you do know that I'm not saying you should go ahead and start doing this stuff until the clock starts, okay? That's why I'm big on the clock. You got to be looking at the clock to make sure you don't get in trouble. So let's go ahead and start our timer. And there we go. Off to the races. Let's see how many processes we can do the major outputs for. Hey, don't forget the game. It's the major outputs game. All right, let's go. Off to the races. Okay. Develop project charter. Identify stakeholders. Those are initiating. What do those give you? And the first process of planning. Develop project management plan. What does that give you? And then plan scope management. What does that give you? Collect requirements. Define scope. What do those give you? Let's see. I like doing them out of order. Define scope. The major output is the project scope statement. The major output of collect requirements is requirements traceability matrix and requirements documentation. The major output of plan scope management is a scope management plan and the requirements management plan. Don't forget. Major output of develop project charter is the project charter and the assumption log. Major output of the identify stakeholders process is the stakeholder register. Major output of develop project management plan is the project management plan. All right. And that is 6 down. More to go. I'm just going to get rid of these and save some time. Get rid of these. You know, when you buy your whiteboard, you can actually get one of those markers that has a little eraser at the end. That is a lot quicker than what I'm trying to do here. But anyway, you get the idea. So that's the first 6. Now we are on to create WBS on down. So see if you can keep up with me and preempt what I'm going to do, all right? I want you to preempt what I'm going to do. So let's change the colors here so as you're watching this back, you know where I am. So create WBS. What next? Plan schedule management. Define activities. Sequence activities. Estimate activity durations, develop schedule. All right, let's see if we can dump those. What comes out of here? The scope baseline. What comes out of plan schedule management? The schedule management plan. What comes out of define activities? Activity list, activity attributes, milestone list. What comes out of sequence activities? Project schedule network diagrams. What comes out of estimate activity durations? Duration estimates and your BOEs, basis of estimates. What comes out of develop schedule? Your project schedule. I want to say schedule baseline and schedule data for sure. Schedule data. All right. So I'm really just giving you the top of the waves of these processes. This is 12. So 12 down, and it sounds scary, doesn't it? But it's 37 to go. So, oh dear. This is not for the faint in heart. This is for people who are on it for the long haul. This is for the long haulers. You got to be a long hauler to get this stuff down pat, my friends. Get it down, and you'll never frown. All right, so that is 12. So we did everything up to develop schedule. So now we're going into cost. So you probably can tell the direction I'm going. If you don't know the direction I'm going, I'm following page 25 going down. And we just did develop schedule. So now we're going to plan cost management, estimate cost, determine budget, plan quality management, plan resource management, and estimate activity resources. Now this always gets me a little bit muddled up in some of these places. I'm going to do them out of order. This is your resource management plan and your team charter. This is your resource requirements. I'm gonna guess that you get something else from here, but I need to make sure first because I don't want to tell you something wrong. I'm doing all this from memory, by the way. This is your quality management plan. You also need to know quality metrics are important here. Your quality metrics. This is your cost baseline, and this is from estimate cost. What do you get from estimate cost? Your cost estimates and your BOEs. And, oh, of course, you get your project funding requirements, PFR, from determine budget. From plan cost management, you get your cost management plan. And from EAR, oh dear. EAR, what do you get from EAR? I want to say you get the usual, the BOEs, but I don't want to tell you anything wrong. So full disclosure, for this particular one, your body fill is a little bit 50-50 on it. I think it would make sense to have a BOE from there. Yep, I was right. You get a BOE, and you also get something else that totally escaped my mind. But from here you get your BOEs, and you get your resource breakdown structure. That has 3. That's a biggie, that one right there. All right, so now we're done 18. All right, 18. Let's continue the journey, folks. Like I said, you got to be strong to get through this stuff, because a lot of people want to quit after the first 6. Don't quit. Keep going. Make this your daily exercise. I told you it was going to be a marathon. It was going to be crazy. And what do you think? It's fun, isn't it? Good. All right, let's get rid of that. A good idea is to just get some 8.5 by 11 sheets, create these, and just go through the sheets daily. You know, just have the boxes and just play with this stuff daily. It's really great practice. So we did estimate activity resources, and from there we go into communications, going down. So we have plan communications management, then we have plan risk management. Now this is going to be easy. This one is easy for the outputs. It's the tools and techniques that get sneaky. Identify risks, perform qualitative risk analysis, perform quantitative risk analysis, and plan risk responses. This is so easy, so easy. It's almost funny, but only because I know what comes out of here: the risk register and the risk report. The risk report, RREP, risk report. Okay, from here all you're going to get is PDUs, but these PDUs, you got to know what's in them. Okay, so you got to remember that in these PDUs sometimes it's the risk register that is emphasized, and in a few others you find that it's the risk report that is kind of emphasized, especially in the case of the quantitative. So don't lose sight of your risk report. This is our risk management plan as an output of that one. Output of plan communications management is your communications management plan. I told you that one was easy. So under PDUs, just remember that you got your risk register for the most part, but sometimes you emphasize the risk report. But it's pretty much the project documents updates. That's the big thing, all right? So I think that is, I think we've done 24 now. Yep. 24. So let's get rid of this. Let's move on. You see, I tell you, anyone can learn from this stuff. Like even what I'm doing right now, I am learning as I'm doing this stuff. I'm learning from my mistakes and things that I wasn't too firm on, like 1 or 2 of the processes that were wobbly. I'm recalling what exactly the answers should be. And the more you do it, like if I do this for straight 5 days, I am going to get to the point where I'm looking for more. I'm going beyond the, you know, the typical outputs. I'm saying, okay, bring it on. Let's throw in where change requests appear. Yeah, it's one of those blanket ones, but let's throw that into the mix as well. You see, that is the point that I would like you to get to ultimately. I would really like you to get to that point. But anyway, let's keep moving along here. So we got done with plan risk responses, and we're moving down to plan procurement management. Oh dear, that's the 7-headed beast. That is a sick one. I got to get rid of this for that. So we're going to get rid of this so that we've got all the space for that horrendous Medusa-like process, because a lot of folks don't know the gargantuan type of stuff that comes from that process is ridiculous. The first time I realized you get 7 outputs that are never ever seen previously in the guide. I mean, they come out of here and here only. That really spun my head in different directions, I'm telling you. And you want to know the honest truth? I do not remember every single one. So this is going to be a good run for my time and effort, because I'm going to give myself a little test and see how many of those horrible 7 I actually remember. So from Plan Procurement Management, let's just say Plan Procurement, because it's that process that has the largest number of unique outputs in the guide. My, oh my. I remember I was getting ready to train a class once, and I was trying to get all this stuff into my head. And then I realized, what? I don't even know what comes from this process, except the procurement management plan. So we got our procurement management plan. We've got our, I wanted to say it's called procurement strategy. We've got our make or buy decisions. We got our, shoot, I can't remember. Do we have procurement documentation? You see, this is where it gets really fuzzy. I know we've got source selection criteria. You see, I've run out of gas. I'm going to have to go for help. So procurement strategy, make or buy decision, independent cost estimates. So we have, in addition to that, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. 4 is independent cost estimates, ICE. Oh, that's easy to remember. Oh dear, you don't want to meet the boys from ICE. Then we've got bid documents. What else? Of course, source selection criteria. And what's the last one? Procurement management plan, procurement strategy. Of course. Procurement statement of work, PSW. I should have remembered that one, because that's one of my favorites. You see, that one, the PMI took the statement of work mention out of initiating. That used to be a little bit of the inputs to developing the charter back in the day in the 5th edition. PMI took it out. I don't know why they took it out. It should have been in there, because when you think about a statement of work, I know here we're calling it a procurement statement of work, but a statement of work is really the high-level narrative of what the customer wants. In this case, it's what you want, because here we're in procurements. Anyway, I digress. Clock's ticking. That's for a different day. Let's not talk about the statement of work here, because it is implicit in your agreements. It actually is. All right. So moving on here, from Plan Procurement Management, we get to the final one in planning, Plan Stakeholder Engagement. From Plan Stakeholder Engagement, you're going to get your Stakeholder Engagement Plan, which is the anomaly in planning. It has the word engagement, not management. You see, it's kind of hypocritical, isn't it? We call it stakeholder management, but when it comes to the plan, we say, no, it's stakeholder engagement. Let's get it straight. Let's not get all emotional about using the word management. It's all about keeping order and structure, but some smart Alec decided to make it stakeholder engagement plan and throw off our little rhyme from the top down with the word engagement in it. Anyway, party poopers. All right. Let's go. Don't get all emotional. I'm only joking. All right. So let's move on to direct and manage project work, which is the first one at the top there in executing, because that's really where we are. So you got direct and manage project work. And then we've got manage project knowledge. And then we've got nothing in schedule, nothing in cost. Quality, we got manage quality. I really hope I'm not missing any of these. I hope I'm not. From here we have our very important three. We have the issue log. We have deliverables, of course. I'll just say DEL, deliverables, and we have WPD. From manage project knowledge, we have our lessons learned register, which is so important. That is going to become part of the lessons learned repository. Okay, don't forget that. That's at the end of the whole party. That's in close project or phase. The lessons learned register, that's going to become part of your repository. You don't want to forget that. But it's not explicit. You just got to know it. You got to read the bullets. All right, manage quality. Oh, we got some favorites here. If only I can remember. We got our quality report. And then we've got test and evaluation documents, right? Test and evaluation documents. You see, every now and again, I get to a process and I'm like, did I get it right? Did I forget something? And test and evaluation documents and quality reports. And yep, that's it. So that's managed quality. Moving on from here to our next one. And I'm going to get rid of all of this because this is from planning. See, the more you guys do this stuff, the more it's going to stick. And the more it sticks, the more you're going to be able to join the dots. The more you're going to be able to put everything together. See what I'm saying? You want to be able to put it all together. If you can put it together, you're getting gooder. You want to be the goodest you can be as you do this stuff, folks. Part of getting good is going through this grind regularly. You know, at least do this twice or 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if you find stuff that you don't know, kind of like you see me get stumped with 2 of these, and I got to plan procurement management and I didn't know what it was, that's good. If I was getting ready for the exam, that's exactly what I want to see happen. I want to get stuck. You see, a lot of people taking mock exams and they get all emotional. Oh, I failed a mock exam. You don't have to feel bad about it. What you should feel bad about is not checking your gaps. Finding your gaps is awesome. Do you want the PMI to find them instead? Come on, man. Find your gaps. It's a good thing. All right. So we got done with managed quality. And now we're getting down to the terrible 3 or the terrific 3. It really depends on thee. Are they terrific or are they awful? Some people say fail, HR. I hate it. I hate the aspect of humans on the project. Well, the good thing is you don't have to think humans anymore. You just think resources. Because PMI have changed it from HR. Now you got no excuse. It's across the board, right, Mr. Engineer? A few engineers would say, oh, I feel bad because I don't deal with people very well. Well, now you got inanimate objects, your backhoe, your gravel, your sand. You throw it all into the mix, you'll feel a lot better. So ADM, the terrible 3 or the terrific 3, depending on which side of the house you are. So that's acquire resources, develop team, manage communications, implement risk responses, and CP, where C is conduct, P is procurement. So this is another fun one. I know I've got gaps here, and I'm not even gonna pretend I have got gaps here. Okay. Acquire resources. Oh, I've got some of my favorites here. Let me apply my brain cells a bit. I've got physical resource assignments. So that's physical resource assignments. And I've got project team assignments. Yep, that's one good thing I remember. Project team assignments. Oh no, I can't remember what else. Oh dear. totally blank, friends. Oh, of course, resource calendars. You see, this is the benefit of doing this. You find your gaps, I'm telling you. I just found another gap. Not that I didn't know it came from there, but it's just in the far recesses of my mind. Resource calendars. See that? See why they call them the terrible three? Develop team. Let me apply my brain cells. What do we get from here? We get team performance assessments. Team performance assessments. Yes. So good. We get team performance assessments. And we also get a very important output that sounds common, but it's not as common as you think. It is enterprise environmental factors updates. See? That's a very important one right there in develop team. Manage team, the big output we get is EEFU again, enterprise environmental factors updates. Because as people are trained, right, you want to get this team performance assessment, which becomes an input to this. In fact, that's a different story. But you need to think about this going in here, like an arrow literally going in here like that. Through your team performance assessment, you are going to evaluate if Phil needs further training. Maybe you got a team member that has anger management issues. That team member, through the team performance assessment, you realize they still got issues. They still got issues. And you're going to update, this with records of their training, where they're at, and so on and so forth. But the EEFUs are really important in both of these. Okay? Those are very important. Now, I just have to read it for you because I know some of you ain't going to open the book and your exam is like tomorrow. So I'm just going to take liberty here and read for you the relevance of EEF. So it says, EEFs that are updated as a result of managed team are inputs to organizational performance appraisals and personnel skill. So you do the appraisals, you update the paperwork, that's that stuff right there. Okay? And now we're on to managed communications. The big output of managed communications is your PCs. That's your project communications. Very big one. Okay? Project communications. Output of implement risk responses is project documents updates, where you have your risk register as a major output. Trying to remember what the major, as a sub-bullet I should say, but I'm trying to remember what the stress point was when it came to the implement risk responses process. You see, there's still rickety stuff shaking and wobbling every now and again that I need to check out. So I'm not going to pretend like I know it all. I do not know it all, I can tell you that. Someone said, Phil, I already knew that yesterday. Well, good luck to you, buddy. So under project documents updates, mention is made of both. So it is both. And it's always good to just check. But they go beyond just the risk register and risk report. But of course, I'm trying to hone in on the major ones, right? This one, conduct procurements. Oh, yes. Another one. Another of those ones. Slimy process. Okay, agreements is definitely a big one there. So I'll just say AGR, agreements. While my memory cells are still booting up here. Yep, there is definitely, I want to say there is procurement documentation updates or something strange like that. I think. Or maybe that's in, I think that's probably in the next one. Oh, of course, selected sellers. Of course. And in fact, that reminds me that the PMBOK guide has an error. It's funny how this stuff comes back to you. Let me show you this really quick here. So this is conduct procurement, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed in the PMBOK guide, there is meant to be an arrow from this selected sellers. Do you know I was actually looking for the undo button to undo that box because I wanted to use a circle. Isn't it ridiculous? You use a computer so much, you actually look for an undo button in real life. I'm sure some smart Alec is going to come out with an undo button for real life one of these days. Okay, so that's selected sellers. Oh dear. And I'm going to draw a circle around it or something circular. And there is meant to be a relationship, folks, which is incorrectly omitted from control procurements. I know we're not there yet, but I just have to show you this because it came to my mind. Control procurement. If you look in some editions of the PMBOK guide, they are missing this relationship. You see, they are missing this. So this does not appear in all tables and in all data flows, and it should, because selected sellers is an input to control procurement, but it doesn't show. You see, if you haven't gone the errata, the PMBOK guide errata sheet, I want to advise you to go download that thing and take a look, because you're bound to find stuff that is not in your guide. Because don't even let me get started on that. Do you know, like today, I got an email from a student saying, Phil, the ITTO science book, where is it? Why haven't you published it? I'm like, there's so many errors in the guide that if I was gonna start the ITTO science book, because you know it's pinpoint precise ITTOs, I'd pull my hair out. So just for the record anyway, instead of doing the ITTO science book, I decided to do a smaller scaled down version, you know, because there's just so many errors. Seriously, there's so many inconsistencies, and the bucketized tools and techniques and all that stuff is, don't even let me get started on that. I'm sure you're like, what's he on about? Well, I published a book back in the day, and it was called ITTO Science, and it was a really fantastic book that people use to prepare for the exam, going through the tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs. And recently, people have asked me, Phil, hey, can I get a copy of that book? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because of some of the inconsistencies, I'm finding it hard to publish that book. Believe it or not, I'm finding it really hard. So those questions, those folks that have those questions about what they should do, my suggestion is go to the Praizion site, Praizion.com, and what you'll find in the lower part of the Praizion.com page is something called PMP Exam Fix. So if you go to the Praizion page, like here, and you scroll down, like all the way down, you get to PMP Exam Fix, and this focuses on critical tools and outputs. And I also show the breakdown, but it's an ebook. So if you got it like right now, you wouldn't need to wait a second. It's an instant download, but it's got some pretty cool imagery. And that book actually helps me recall the ITTOs. Again, how to get there, Praizion.com, and just go to the PMP Exam Fix, instant download. The moment you buy it, boom, they send it to you. All right, so that is one substitute for ITTO science. It's unfortunate, but I just haven't been able to do the ITTO science because of the plethora of inconsistencies. I'm not saying this to not PMI. You know, we're all in this together. I'm one of the final reviewers. And I know there are a lot of people with a lot more skin in the game, but there are just too many inconsistencies. And the grouped and ungrouped nature of a lot of the project documents it just doesn't allow translation. For example, if I wanted to show the translation of this, of the risk register into various processes, I'm limited. But that was not the case in the 5th edition. That was not the case in the 5th edition. It might amaze you, but not only do I keep my 6th edition handy, I also keep my 5th edition fine and dandy. Why? Because there's gold in the 5th that is harmful for consumers of the 6th, but it's not harmful for me as a trainer. Do you know why? Because in the 5th, I can find some relationships that are not clear in the 6th, sad to say. Sad to say, my friends. I'm just keeping it real for you. You want me to show you an example of some of those? I will. So when we talk about certain key relationships, I'm going to come back to what we're doing. Think about this. You got define activities. You got create WBS. How on earth is there a link between this and this? Someone would say, Phil, there's no link. Someone would say, Phil, I have to go up that way, and I have to go to develop project management plan, and only then am I able to put my project management plan in here, which contains my scope baseline. And I say, nope, nope, nope. Don't think of it like this. Because on the exam, you gotta know that your scope baseline, even though it is not explicit, this is the real relationship right here, my friends. This is the relationship. This is real world. This stuff is theoretical babble right here. This is theoretical babble right here. And this is where I just got a little bit upset with the 6th. I'm just keeping it real for you folks. This is the real relationship. Let me show you another relationship here, folks. So we talk about sequence activities. And I ask people, all right, what is the relationship between this and this? And you know what my students will say? No relationship here. I say, you're wrong, my friend. There's a relationship. You just don't see it. The relationship is not the goofy trip to La La Land, to the land of project documents. The trip is not to go to the project documents land and say, oh, from here I get my activity attributes and my no. Real world, folks, real world. Real world, you got to think of it. You got to think of it like my activity attributes, my milestone list, my activity list. That's what's feeding sequence activities. Don't just wave them away calling them project documents. And that's why, my friends, I'm just keeping it real for you. Let's be honest. When you open up the book to read it, all of these intricacies, you cannot ignore them. That's all hey, let's bring it close to the camera. Those intricacies, those little bullets. Hello? Those little bullets. Those bullets. Oh my goodness. If you forget those bullets on some processes, you go be in trouble, my friend. I'm telling you. I'm just keeping it real. So people get into the exam and they don't really understand some questions because they're in the land of the grouped. The land of the grouped is convenience, man. It's convenience. That's all it is. Convenience. Just convenience for people. But if you want to keep it real, you got to get off the grouped train. You got to get into the weeds and you got to begin to think, all right, so that means, look here. That means If I had project documents in air quotes, but I didn't have these specific ones, I cannot do this. Exactly. You could have all the project documents till the cows came home, issue log, change log, whatever register you want. But if you don't have these three, what are you doing in sequence activities? You see why I get a little bit worked up over this? Because people are blowing right past the real dependency points. The real dependency points are these. And if you miss these by saying, oh, well, project documents is an input to 6.3. Oh, what a good day. I know what that is. End of story. No, you're going to be in trouble. Seriously. Same for the tools and, oh dear. Don't let me open Pandora's box right here, because that's going to open not just a can of worms, but it's also going to, oh dear. Don't let me give you a visual. Don't let me give you a visual here. All right, let's try and finish this show. It's been going on for too long. So that's your implement risk responses. That's conduct procurements. I think we're due for a new set of boxes. I've exhausted these. All right. All right, so we did conduct procurements, and I went off on a rabbit trail, raving and ranting like a lunatic. Let's return to normal. Forget everything I said. Forget his rants. He's a bit of a loose cannon every now and again, especially at this time of the day when he's not had his meds. We'll have to find his meds and find a few pieces of Valium for him or something to that effect. Keep him calm. All right. So, conduct procurements is followed by manage stakeholder engagement, which is the final one in executing. Go into monitoring and controlling. We have some of my favorites here. We have monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, validate scope, control scope, control schedule. Some of my favorites here again, being from the world of scheduling back in the day. I know some people love Microsoft Project Server. If you are a Microsoft Project fan, you might remember that schedule forecasts can be derived from project. Much to some other people's horror, some people hate project. Schedule forecasts come from control schedule. From here, I'm just going to say change request. And I'll just say project management plan updates, because really there's nothing too unique from control scope, except what you are doing and the details in the updates. That's unique. Validate scope. Oh, this is one of the big kahunas. So validate scope gives you what? Let me let you think. Manage stakeholder engagement. Again, nothing so unique. You're going to have PDUs from here for sure. You're going to update your register as needed. You're going to update any other documents as needed. Monitor and control project work. Hey, look. Let me give you a quick assignment. A, B, C, and D. Do you guys know what comes out of there? Do you know? You should know what comes out of there. You should. And if you don't, I wonder why you don't. So let's tackle them one by one. A, the major thing that comes out of A, you guessed right. I hope. WPR. Now, someone might say, Phil, this is all too much. I'm getting a headache. I don't know what to do. Let me show you another solution that can help you out, okay? It's your friend Phil trying to help you. Go to the Praizion site, Scroll down. You know what you should do? You need to get on this curriculum right here, the PMP Exam Major Outputs Curriculum. It's going to take you to this site. It's an instant registration, all right? You don't need to wait for any human to intervene. It's there. There are 26 lessons. Hit that button and get into the course. Seriously, get into it. Get into it. So you can see we've got outputs for integration, for scope, for schedule, for cost. This will kick your tires for every one of these. And in addition to that, I have a little summary video that will just help you get firm on this stuff. So you see me going through all of this, and you're like, how does he know the inputs? How does he know the outputs? I study them. And part of studying is getting on a system, my friends. You got to get on a system and you get more solid. So A is work performance data. Work performance reports. WPR. That is your major output from MCPW. Can you get other things? Yes, but I'm trying to keep you focused on the big ticket unique items. All right? Okay. So tell me, what do you get from B? What do you get from B? It would have been nice to make it interactive, but unfortunately that boat has sailed by me. I should have taken it into a live chat so you guys could respond accordingly, but unfortunately I haven't been able to do that. But anyway, I'm hoping that you know what this stuff is. I'm really hoping you do. So let's fill in B and C. B is what? This is your approved change request, and this one is your change log. Now, hold on. I know you're going to say project documents, updates. Yes. But I think it was a mistake not to clearly call out change log on the first appearance. So I'm being a bit defiant by not putting this under project documents. I'm defying the guide in this one because it is important that you know your change log is from there. Validate scope. You get your... I'm having a brain freeze. Accepted is the word. Accepted. And it's so important, I'm going to write it in full. Accepted deliverables. Sometimes my students mix up the word accepted with the word approved. So I have some students saying, it's approved deliverable. It is. No, it's not. It's accepted deliverable. All right. We got just a little bit left. I know we've been going for almost an hour, and some people got fed up and hopped off the bus, and I don't blame them. I understand. It's all good. I know you're probably trying to get work done, trying to get your evening chores done. If you're out in Asia Pac, or you're probably fast asleep. Yeah, our friends in Europe and Africa. You're probably just watching something on TV, maybe EastEnders or the network news. Or maybe you watch CNN or Fox. We got to include both so that both sides of the house are happy. If I say CNN and I don't say Fox, someone's going to have a meltdown. Oh dear, don't you love the world we live in? Okay, so where are we? We did perform integrated change control. So going down, the next thing after PICs, oh, we've done all that. What am I saying? Control cost is what's next. So we got control cost. We got control quality. We got control resources. Sometimes I tell you my head needs to boot because I've got so many additions in my head. I've got third, fourth, fifth, and sixth all trying to come to the surface. So I need to keep them straight sometimes. I was like, wait a minute. No, there's no control. Oh. We're in the sixth. Okay. Monitor communications, because we monitor people. We don't control them. So this is quite interesting, folks. So we got monitor communications because we don't control people. We got monitor risks because you cannot control risks. If you could, you'd have everything down pat, right? As far as risks, never needing to do anything to work further on them. If you could control them, right? But you can't. And then we've got control procurements. I'm going to squeeze this last one in only because we are at the end of monitoring and controlling, and it is important for you to see the relationships with the monitors and the controls. So this one is monitor stakeholder engagement. So you can see you got three monitors. Three monitors or three snitches. You got three snitches in the class. Oh dear. Okay. So control cost gives you your cost forecasts. That's an important one. You could get change requests from these monitoring and controlling processes, all right? This is one that is rather important, and sometimes it throws me for a loop because there is some very important stuff under the surface in control quality. And I know what happened last time. I started telling you how the 5th edition is a little bit more pinpoint precise than the 6th. But if I go into this, I don't think it's going to be good. We might find ourselves at the 2-hour mark. And as you can see on the timer, it's coming to 1 hour. And that's always a point of concern when I see the 1 hour mark coming up. So let me just say, do yourself a favor when you're reading control quality and get into the depth of it, folks. There are some bullets here that are definitely mention worthy. Definitely. The obvious one, I know you're waiting for the obvious. Yes. Verified deliverables is the obvious. Okay? Verified deliverables. That's the obvious. But there is some stuff undercurrent that I'm going to try my best to recall. I know a lot of you might be thinking, but Phil, you didn't say WPI for all of those. It gets boring after a while. So I'll just say WPI is an output of all monitoring and controlling processes outside of integration. You need to remember this blanket statement. All monitoring and controlling processes outside of integration are going to give you WPI. Okay? WPI is an output of all monitoring and controlling processes outside of integration. I hope that makes you happy now that I've acknowledged it. But going back to control quality, of course, you have quality control measurements. Very important. Those are the measurements of whatever deliverable you're inspecting. Let's leave it at that. But I would like you to look a little bit deeper into data analysis. So I'm giving you a little assignment. Go read up data analysis under control quality. Also read up testing and product evaluations, read up inspection, and read up data representation. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. You want to get data representation and data analysis down pat for control quality. Oh, they could be trouble. Uh-oh, that sounded like Pimpy. Where did he spring from? Let's hurry up before he emerges from the shadows. So that's control quality. Control resources is pretty much your project documents, updates, and change requests, if any. I think those are the real big ones, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there's anything else that is really major from there. From monitor communications, again, it's the same thing. It's things like your project documents updates, project management plan updates, change requests, pretty much. And of course, I've mentioned WPIs. But let me think here. Is there anything noteworthy? No, there is not. There is not. Monitor risks. Again, this is another one, another below the surface. They'll say, oh, it's just your PDUs. It's not just PDUs, because in the PDUs, there's a thicker stew. Your PDUs, there's a bigger stew. All right. Control procurements. Yeah, this is that weird one where you've got something called, going through my data banks here, procurement documentation updates. Let me make sure. That's what my head is telling me, but I need to check it out. So bear with me as I do that. Got to open up the book for this one. Let's open up the book, 12.3. Is there any such thing as procurement documentation updates, or did I imagine it? I did not. It is item 3 on the list. So procurement documentation. Let me just say ProcDoc. ProcDocu, so you don't forget it. Procurement documentation updates, because you got your procurement documentation, going into control. This is control procurements. And one of the updates is procurement documentation updates. But, folks, let me also inform you that procurement documentation is a potpourri of many things that were in the 7, those 7 we looked at under Plan Procurement Management. Well, those 7, a lot of them are filed under procurement documentation. So procurement documentation, bid documents, procurement statement of work, independent cost estimates, and source selection criteria. So you got to remember the acronym. It's a bit of a funny acronym, but it's SPID. No, SPIB. I beg your pardon. SPIB. So your source selection criteria, your procurement statement of work, your independent cost estimates, and your bid documents. And that is your procurement documentation. All right. So when you see procurement documentation loosely referred to, and then when you see procurement documentation updates, you got to remember what exactly is in there. Now, bear in mind that when you get to control procurement, the PMI expand upon it a little bit, because you see procurement documentation going into this process, And going into this process, they just tell you procurement documentation contains complete supporting records for administration, such as statement of work, payment information, contract. So they kind of expand on it. Contractor work performance information, plans, drawings, and other correspondence are lumped in there. But when you take a look at this under 9.2, where you see it as an output, or where you see it as an, is it an input or an output? I believe it's an input. Yes, an input, of course. You see that they only refer to SPIB. Okay. Now on the back end, as an output of control procurements, right here, this one we're looking at. Let me get rid of this so you can focus. So here, now we are down to procurement documentation updates. In this one, the PMI mentioned similar stuff, but they also throw in seller developed technical documentation. And they also throw in deliverables. It will amaze you that deliverables are thrown in here under this so-called procurement documentation updates. So they say any seller developed technical documentation and work performance information such as deliverables, seller performance reports, warranties, financial documents including invoices and payment records, and the results of contract-related inspections. That is page 499. Hey, go read it up. I don't know if it's going to be extremely relevant on your exam, but procurement documentation updates is not project document updates. And you do need to keep this stuff straight, okay? Last but not least, in the area of monitoring and controlling is managed stakeholder engagement. And without getting into the murky details, well, because everything is high level under those bullets and so on, but just remember that you've got your potential project documents updates, and you could also have CRs. Okay? So that's from monitor stakeholder engagement. I really hope I've been keeping these names straight. If I've said manage instead of monitor or monitor instead of manage at any point in time, I apologize. All right, last but not least, and let's see if we can do it in the 1 hour. Oh, I've got 40 seconds left. Have you ever been on a PMP exam and you say, oh my gosh, I've got 10 seconds left and I've got 10 questions I haven't selected any option on? Oh dear, it's happened to me. Not that I had 10 questions, I just had a few. All right, let's finish this. Close, project, or phase, and the outputs. Final report, and final product, service, or result transition. Woohoo! Done and dusted. Thank you all very much. Remember to go on down to Praizion.com. Remember to get those curricula, folks. That's stuff I put out to help you. All right, go all the way down there. Get your PMP exam fix. Get your outputs. Get your tools fixed. And remember, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have never seen this stuff broken down like this, you want to be on the training. You want to be on the PMP Exam Prep Camp 2018. All right, so hit that first link. Dig into the details with us. You will be extremely glad you did. Thank you very much for joining me. It's your friend Phil here, just keeping it real, trying to come up with ways that you can conquer the beast, you can master the information, and that you can laugh all the way to the score bank. Thank you very much, and bye for now. Bye. Hope you enjoyed it.